13 July 2022 meeting of the Littleton Board of Health. It is 7 p.m. The first item on our agenda is a explanation coming from the Leominster Tobacco Alliance, and we have Joan Hamlet in attendance. Joan, can you hear us and talk?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I don't know why. It's not giving me a camera option for you to be able to see me, but that's okay. So I just wanted to reintroduce myself. Okay, start my video. Okay. Let me see if it lets me do it. I don't know why it's not giving me a cam. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Hi. So again, I'm Joan Hamlet, and I'm director of the Tobacco Control Alliance, and I'm also a tobacco inspector for the town of Littleton. Littleton Board of Health joined the Tobacco Control Alliance and designated us tobacco control agents to enforce state and local regulations in 2008. I can't remember the exact month, but we were designated agents by then. So in the meantime, we have a local regulation. We normally have really good compliance in Littleton. It's not that common that we have hearings or too many non-compliance issues in Littleton. However, the governor in November of 2019 declared youth vaping and tobacco use an emergency just prior to COVID. And he put in a lot of extra funding. And in his law, he raised the age under this emergency order to 21, effective January 1st, 2020. And then effective June 1st, 2020, all retailers had to remove all candy, fruit, and alcohol flavor tobacco products and vape products, regardless of nicotine content in the vape. And then he raised the penalties for sales to minors and flavor and lack of manufacturer letters verifying that their products aren't flavored in Massachusetts from 100, 200, 300 to 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. And on the sales to minor, it's a mandatory 1 to 7 permit suspension for the first offense with the $1,000 fine, and then no less than 7 days on a second offense, and no less than 30 days on a third offense. So now we have very serious fines, and we have very serious permit suspensions that are very costly to our retailers. So in 2019, November 2019, the governor's office used the mailing addresses to everybody with a valid tobacco permit with the Department of Revenue and mailed these notices about these new laws. The Department of Revenue emailed in 2019, prior to January 1st, to every retailer who had submitted an email address to get their permit. And then in January of 2020, the Alliance did their own letter that we mailed, and then we hand delivered it and had retailers sign that they received it. And then when the June 1st portion of now you have to remove your flavor went into effect, we did a phone call to every single retailer the month of May in our Alliance territory. And at this point, we're increased to 42 communities in Central Mass. So we contacted every retailer the month of May and phone, gave them a phone script of what they needed to do for June 1st. We mailed in May an updated letter summary and website links where they could go to get all the information. And then we hand delivered in the retail ed visits that year and had each store that they signed for the information. And then we did a retail ed inspection for the FY22 in Littleton. And we did that November 4th was the retail inspection of 2021. And we also gave the legal packet with any updates to that, and every store in Littleton signed that they received it. And I do have the signature sheet, and this was, back in November, this was sent to your office. So, we're funded on education, and it's punitive if they don't take the education and there's violations. But public health is supposed to be helping your retailers come into compliance, not catch them in non-compliance. So nobody feels good when these things happen. But now the state of Massachusetts recognizes that since 1994, there's been significant education. There's just no valid excuse that's acceptable under this new law for a sale to a minor. So we went to great lengths to make sure that we educated every retailer multiple ways, by phone, multiple mailings, email, in-person visits. Now, with that said, we may have gotten the employee, we always ask for the owner or manager who's there. When whoever receives the mail, we have to mail it to whoever the legal mailing address is, because we have had retailers tell us, oh, I didn't get it. We've sent everything US mail, and the court system has always accepted you don't have to do certified. If you sent it out mail and it didn't come back, it's assumed receipt. However, we went an extra step with violations because they're so important. We mailed them, and we had a little bit of extra money in our budget through COVID. So we sent everything certified and return receipt for all of our violations. We have had a significant increase in violations, and, back prior, I want to say we had limited funding. We went into a minimum reach funding program for about 9 years, and we just would inspect everybody once a year, and they only got a second inspection if there was a violation or a complaint about them, when we used to inspect them 4 to 6 times a year. We went back to inspecting them 4 to 6 times a year with the 2020 COVID emergency funding, because they gave us emergency funding and then COVID happened, but we had that emergency money. So we were still out doing inspections. So I would go from 9 violations a quarter to we're averaging 30 violations a month. In the month of April alone, we had 54 violations between flavor and sales to minors. So I think what happened is when we were a regulatory program going out, talking to retailers 2 times a year and doing 4 to 6 youth access compliance checks, everybody was getting their rates down and it was staying fresh in people's mind. And for those 8-9 years, we were in a minimal reach funding, and we could only go out once. And if somebody made a complaint, it's kind of like, if you're speeding on Route 2 and nobody stops you, you're going to continue to speed, type of thing. So, now that more programs are going out across the state, they're seeing a significant increase in non-compliance. So, like I said, we had 54 violations, and so Littleton isn't alone. We've seen a significant increase in many of our communities. But we work really hard to have a good relationship with our retailers. And it's really hard to say, we're here to help you. We want to help you come into compliance. We want to give you all the tools you need to pass these inspections. And it's hard to say that, we're a regulatory friendly program and we're not punitive, but here's your $1,000 to $5,000 fine. So we're really in a place we don't want to be, but we've done what we can to educate the retailers on these new laws, these new penalties, and their things. And, through COVID, we had problems like all offices, a little bit of short staff. We had somebody go out on a medical leave. We had a few bumps in the road where things didn't get out as smoothly as we had hoped. But, we're ready to, address those issues. We're fully staffed. We're moving into the FY23 year, pretty well oiled now on the process of these orders. And the order that we issued, that's the state order. So that's not like language that I make up. The state gave us that template. When you have a sale to a minor, a flavor violation, or a manufacturer letter violation, we have to use that order, and it supersedes your local regulation. We did send out a educational email to all the boards, but during COVID, some boards were remote. Some boards have had lots of changes in staff, change in secretary staff. We didn't necessarily have all the right email addresses. And then plus we have, every board has new members now. There's been so much turnover in board membership and agents and public health. There's actually a shortage right now. I have boards that can't make a quorum because they don't have enough numbers. So I don't know if you have any questions for me.
So quick question. You said you had forwarded or you had used the state template for violation orders.
Yes.
I'm not sure if Matt may know. I don't see either of those violation letters in our packet. So I haven't seen what exactly the violations are or what format it was delivered in.
Well, I was speaking in general, but we do have 2 violations here tonight. The packets were sent to Jim, the Littleton Board of Health office. We had talked about them. Each retailer has received the violation. So I don't know. I mean, I could send a quick email now, but I don't know if that would help get it to you, because we do have $2,000 sale to minor hearings back to back right after here.
No, Dan, I don't have them either. And thought they were bounced around and hopefully got to the packet, but it appears not.
Is it okay if we ask Joan to just email? Actually, do you have,
I'm on my
I want to do
computer
this.
now, so
If it goes to the Board of Health email, we won't get it because there's nobody
Well, if you
in the
give-
office.
I can email it to where your own ones right now, if you wanted to, if you preferred not to do it. I do think, you know, I mean, it's a little bit harder. Like if I came in person, I always bring a copy for everybody involved if I came in person. So, I mean, this would have to be a decision of what you want me to do. Do you, because each retailer has received them. We do have them on standby for remote. So I can try to get them to you now so we can use them for the hearing. You can go forward with the hearing and just hear the details and determine if you have enough facts to see it, or you can reschedule it for your next scheduled meeting. And what happens is when somebody requests is appealing, their penalties pause until they get a chance to be heard at your next regularly scheduled meeting. So, you know, right now these things have happened. There has been delays. So these things are going to be up. Whatever you want me to do, I can get it done.
Do you have access to the generic Leominster Tobacco Control Alliance email right now?
Do I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll
Okay,
send
you
an
do.
email to you right now. If you could forward it back to me, please.
Okay. Can you hear me still? Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I just want to be sure because I closed the window. So I'm in it right now. All right, so let me. All right,
I
so-
just shot an email to that account.
All right. I am. All right, so junk email, let me look. Inbox. Okay, nothing's come through yet. I'm just going to check my junk folder. Oh, yeah, it just came through, Matt. Okay, so Matt. All right. I'm seeing if I have them on the 2 right now. All right, no, sorry. All right. All right, Matt, let me. Okay, so I just sent the Great Road Liquors. And now I'm going to send the. Okay, no, that's Did you get that one?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And
Are you copying?
I
I'll
copied.
share.
If you could share it via email, that'd be great, because due to technical difficulties, I'm looking on my cell phone right at the moment.
Check.
Sorry, I'm working that too.
Well, here's one that has all three of them in it. Let me see. Oh no, this one is, oh no, because one was from, that was the Great Roads.
Yep.
Okay. So this one is sending the two more recent ones, and Golf took responsibility for it and paid and accepted their penalty. So that Golf is the first, and then in the second PDF, when you scroll through it, the second one is Archer Mobile. Okay. Here we go. So if you, I was just trying to see if I could find you the mobile one not in with the one that already paid. So in that second attachment, you'll have to scroll down to page 6, and then that starts the Archer.
Okay. There it is. Okay, do you want me to review these right now, gentlemen?
Reviewing.
So here's the first letter sent on April 2nd, based upon a check on February 27th.
On this one, on April 12th, there was also a letter sent by Gold Law Offices regarding this one. And it was just, you know, did everybody receive that letter?
If it wasn't in something you just sent, then no.
Okay. Let me get you that letter too.
And Matt, you can make sure you send stuff out. That'd be great. I got the first one.
Okay, so I'm just trying to make my window small. All right, let me, I have it all on paper and now I'm trying to. All right. All right, I'm getting to the right one. This one came.
So the gist of this that we see, it's obviously checked off. It's the selling product to person under the minimum legal sales age. Page 2 shows that this is the first violation and lines out the fine and the suspension. Now, Joan, when you were describing the process, did I hear you describe a ranged suspension, or are those also set at the state level?
The range, for sale to minor, on a flavor violation, the board can make a decision to waive a permit suspension or not. On a sale to minor, you have to issue for a first violation 1 to 7 days, no less than 1, no more than 7 on the first violation. On the second violation, you have to do at minimum 7, and on a third violation, you have to do a minimum of 30 days. Many of you boards have local regulations that set more. I have a lot that do 14 and 21 on a second violation. So the state law set the range for the first, and then the minimum for the second and the minimum for the third. But because of COVID, communication, remote boards, lack of boards, new agents, I emailed everybody last fiscal year and said, I'm going to do 3, 7, and 30. Well, everybody adjusts to these shocking new fines and new penalties, and we're getting everybody educated unless your board notifies me otherwise. So every board has been doing 3, 7, and 21. I mean, 3, 7, and 30, because no one has notified me they wanted to do anything different. I'm coming in this fiscal year to ask boards to take the state law and merge it with your local regs so everything matches. And then at that point, you can determine if you want to do more. But for the purpose of tonight's hearing, it's set for 3 days, but you do as a board have the right to consider to lower it down to 1, but you can't do less than 1. And the fine, you can't, for the $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 fine, no Board of Health or clerk magistrate can reduce the fine. You can only find them responsible or not responsible. So if you do a responsible finding, the fine is the fine. You can't reduce it. And then we have to put in the state database what the reason is for a non-responsible fine, and it goes, to the governor's office, the attorney general's, it goes everywhere. And the 2 reasons for a not responsible finding is there was a problem or an error in the inspection protocol, or, errors in issuing the violation, or the board made a motion and voted that they believed the sale did not happen. Those are the only 2 reasons for a sale to a minor that a board can consider in a not responsible finding.
Thank you.
I did want to let you know that we have iPads issued from the state, and every inspector has their ID number to log in. So when we pull into a retailer to do any type of pricing inspection, retail ed, any inspection we're opening up, satellite tracks us to that location. There's the geo tracking in there. So it does open it up and it tracks us right there. It starts it right there. When we close the inspection, it pins it when we closed it. So we have accurate satellite times for when we were at the store, and it's proof that we were at the store.
All right. Any other questions from the board before we talk directly? I will forward along one more letter from the first one. All right, Joan, if you wouldn't mind staying as a panel member so you can help answer any questions that come up.
Okay. We haven't done a hearing here in a long time, so I'll just quickly run over how typically the hearing usually goes.
Okay.
So you usually you open the hearing for whoever's up next, and we say what happened, and then they say why they requested a hearing, and then the board discusses it and then makes a motion, decides what they're going to do, and then we move on to the next one. So I typically do stay for the hearings as the tobacco agent for you.
Perfect.
Okay.
In that case, it is 7:25. We'll move on to the 7:10 agenda item, the public hearing regarding tobacco sales violation for Great Road Liquors. And if you are in attendance from Great Road Liquors, please raise your hand. Sherry Gould, I am promoting you to our panel. All right, Sherry, looks like you're muted. Can you unmute and let us know you can hear us?
I got both. Okay, I've got the video. And I'm unmuted.
We got it. We can hear and see you.
Okay, hi. Good evening,
evening.
board members, and good evening. I tuned in a little bit late. I'm not sure of your title, but it was very informative. I did hear most of what you said. I'm here with Dominic Seven. He is the principal of Great Road Liquors. And I'm his attorney and his wife, so I don't know which makes me a little dumber, but they say a fool represents themselves. We received a notice. It was misdirected in the mail and it came to us not directly to the business, but I think some tenant in another building brought it over knowing that it was intended for Great Road Liquors. I do an awful lot of board work and court work and legal work, and I did not readily understand what the notice meant or conveyed. It took me a couple of days, seriously, to read it and understand that it had anything to do with our liquor store, precisely because it came on forms that were printed by the Leominster Alcohol Commission. I'm sorry, but may I ask your name, the woman that's guiding us here?
My name is Joan Hamlet, and I am the director of the Boards of Health Tobacco Control Alliance, and we are the designated agent, tobacco control agent for the town of Littleton. And we've been working in the town of Littleton and going to the Great Road Liquor Store. We've been in Littleton since 2008, and we've been, going into the Great Liquor Store in person, a couple times a year for many years.
Okay, I'm not being critical in any way.
No.
It came on Leominster's letterhead, and it took me back and forth with my husband a lot of time to say, why would the Leominster Board of Health have anything to do with what we did at the liquor store? Anyway, and it was hard to read the date, the time, and the hour of the violation so that we could track. We have cameras, and I wanted to track if an employee made an error. We obviously wanted to retrain and reschool the employees. I will tell you that we received no other notices ever. We've been in business since about, I think you said 2008. We've never had a violation either of liquor sales or tobacco sales. The store probably has only about 1 or 2% of its revenues in tobacco. Mostly it's a small town beer and wine and liquor store, and the tobacco is incidental. I'm not questioning that the violation may have occurred. What I'm questioning is there doesn't seem to have been any prior notice about the new rules and regulations to this liquor store. No mail has come from your offices or from the town of Littleton. And when I read the violation and it said we had a right of appeal, I didn't even know where to appeal it to. So I think what I ended up doing was sending the appeal to Leominster as well as to the Neshoba Board of Health, as well as to the Littleton Board of Health. So my only cause for concern today is that in all my years of practicing law, I have never encountered a rule, regulation, or penalty that didn't have associated with it some manner of notifying people that they were subject to that kind of a penalty, and further, having some sort of a right of hearing and maybe a first offense ability to waive. So everything you said tonight, I heard you. And obviously, if we have to pay fines, we're in business and we'll pay our fines. But it was a confusing first ever notice. It was a confusing first ever offense. We have since posted very large signage both for the customer and for the employees to see, and it's in color, and it's a cute little right under the small stand of cigarettes that we have, alerting everybody that we're going to be carding everybody, and we're doing that now. So I just wanted to make that statement on behalf of Great Road Liquors. We try to be a good member of the community. We try to abide by all the laws.
All right. I'm in the state database right now, and I do see some, previous history violations. So I'm not sure, because I can't speak to how another agency notifies or not. But what I wanted to do, let me get back to you. We didn't have a history of sales to minors in this store. And what happened in 2021, we had a previous violation and we mailed a warning. And then you had one in a sale to a minor in 2028, and we mailed a warning. In December 14th, 2021, there was a sale to a minor and a warning went out. So now this is the third sale. So what happens is when you have a sale, it triggers a reinspection. You have another sale, it triggers another reinspection.
I
So
saw
Right.
that on the form. We never received any of those
Right.
notices. That's
So
why I'm
we
troubled.
we can speak to, we have a warning, a written warning that was mailed out. We can't speak to if you received it or not, because we don't, if somebody has a fine, then we track that within the tolling period and things like that. I just wanted to speak to this document right here, and I can email it to anybody who needs it. But this is, we did this in 2020, in July of 2020, and we did it in our fiscal year this year. And on this, it says we delivered a retail education packet that had all the new laws, a reminder and everything else.
Yeah.
And so we received that to you on 11/11/2021, and for I'm in the wrong one, sorry. Great Road Liquors, Rebecca Pierce signed that law packet, receiving it for you for your store. She printed and signed her name, Rebecca Pierce. So I don't know if is she a current employee or a past employee?
Yeah, thank you for explaining
so-
that. She is a current employee.
Right.
It was
These new,
yeah.
right. And these new laws passed in 2019, and the Department of Revenue emailed a packet of information to everybody who they had an email with. And the governor's office used the Department of Revenue mailing addresses. And they also made an educational packet to make sure retailers were informed of that. So we've gone to, I didn't translate to you as owners, but information has been going to your stores because that's who you have on your permits and applications as your mailing address. So whether employees have not passed that information along to you, or you received it, didn't realize what it was, I don't know what to say, but we make everybody sign when we hand deliver these notices, everybody in the store signs. So I have a signature for 2020, 2021, and there's a packet there that I can mail and email to you in case you had not seen it. And it does explain the fines are 1,000 to 3,000. It explains the new laws with the flavors. It explains the sales to minors, that there is no warnings anymore. The state of Massachusetts has been progressive since 1994, and the governor's office has declared it a state of emergency, the youth sales to minors, and he considers it, there's no known excuse to have a sale. With that said, this would be 2018 reinspection. It sounds like you didn't get the notices. I don't know that you did or did not get that because I'm not on that end of it. But this is a first violation. If those weren't warnings, this would be $5,000 and a 30-day suspension. Of this tobacco license. So, and then I just wanted to point out in the letter, I do have the letter in front of me. I was just, it doesn't say Leominster Board of Health. We're the Board of Health Tobacco Control Alliance, and we have an Athol office and a Leominster office, and we service 42 towns. So we're not the Leominster Board of Health, and this wasn't issued under the Leominster Board of Health. But I can understand where it might be a little bit confusing, but on the back, it has, it tells you where to pay it, and it tells you where to appeal it. And it says specifically right on it to appeal it at the Littleton Board of Health, and it gives the address. So
which is what I did, but I wanted to get a copy back to the generator of the letter, obviously.
Yeah. So if you sent it to 25 West Street to the Tobacco Control Alliance, we would have received it. But it didn't come to me that way. We sent it out to you, and the appeal came to me through Jim Griffey as the the Littleton Health Agent.
Yeah. And I think it was Jim I spoke to when I asked him where to send it, because I really didn't know if the local board or the Neshoba had jurisdiction. Once again, we try to be good, community members and to obey all the laws. And sometimes you have an employee that makes a mistake. So that's exactly what happened here. I'm sorry the notices haven't been getting to us, and I will make a bigger effort to get those to us. I do want you to know that the minute vaping was targeted as a problem in this state, we just stopped selling any vape products whatsoever. we are not looking for trouble. We're not looking to maximize our profitability on tobacco sales, let me tell you.
Littleton has had a pretty good history, and we're having a little bump in the road right now because we've had a couple of violations. I do want you to be aware that in the state database, state inspectors can see this, federal inspectors can see it, the Department of Revenue can see it, and it triggers extra inspections in your store. So that's why when you had an October inspection, it triggered the December inspection. Now the December inspection triggered the February inspection, but other agencies have gone in and inspected because of these violations too. So it looks like you passed some of the re-inspections with other agencies. This board and myself can only deal with the ones that have been done locally. So when we show the 2 previous violations, those were local violations done by us as the local tobacco control agent. But 3 violations in a 36-month period is considered egregious by the state of Massachusetts. So we now have 3 violations for your location in less than a year. So we would like to work with you if there's any materials you need, any extra help you might need in conveying information to your employees, because there's extra inspections in your store now, and we want to make sure that you don't get to the next level, which would be the 2,000, the 5,000.
Right.
And after so many violations, the lottery commission looks at your lottery if you've had too many violations of some of these things. So, our goal is to help educate and bring everybody into compliance. We really want to be a proactive program. So, it's not meant to be punitive, but the penalties are pretty stiff. And we acknowledge that, but those are out of our hands and it's out of the local Board of Health hands. This is now a state mandate. Prior to this, the local Board of Health had fines of $100, $200, $300, which were obviously more manageable for a retailer. That's why we did so much education to make sure that people understood you really have to be on your toes.
And one of the reasons we're here tonight is for education, if nothing else. So I do appreciate the time and your patience.
Okay.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Joan. Any questions from the board? Dan?
Just a quick question. So it looked like you would receive the educational packet from the Tobacco Control Alliance. So I'm seeing a head nod. So you did receive, so Rebecca signed off, I believe it was, for you, and you did receive that educational packet regarding the requirements and the penalties for failure to comply.
Mr. Seven is saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, it sounded like you had said that you had not received any of that or were not made aware of that there was a change in the law in 2020. So I just wanted to make sure that that you had in fact received that educational packet.
Yes.
Thank you.
Kevin, anything further?
No, I don't have anything further. It's fairly clear for me.
Mr. Vice Chairman, respectfully requesting, I understand the fines didn't seem to have any flexibility. And as I said, we'll pay the fine. I hope it's at the minimum 1,000, but I would like to have the suspension be no longer than 1 day, and we'll do everything we can to make sure this never happens again.
Joan, go ahead.
I just want to let you know that it is within your authority to we issued it for 3 days because that's what we were doing standardly. It is within your purview to reduce it down to 1 day, but I do recommend if you do it for this one, we reduce it to 1 for the other gentleman coming in and the person who didn't contest it that's about to have a 3 day, to keep it fair and consistent. And then moving forward into the fiscal year, because it does set a precedent. There really isn't, like we usually don't do ranges. Each board usually in your local reg, it says a specific day, but once you do a range, now you set the precedent that that's what we're going to do moving forward.
Mr. Vice They also said that it was only 1 to 2% of the store sales were in tobacco sales, and this is only going to be suspending the tobacco product sales.
Yeah, tobacco and vape.
Tobacco and they
Yep.
and admitted during this that they stopped selling vape products.
Okay.
So, Joan, help us out. Since this is our first hearing for, I think, all of us members, we'll need a motion.
Yeah, we'll need a motion. In the motion, they're asking, one, they're asking for consideration. They're here for an appeal. They're asking for consideration. You can't consider the fine if you believe the sale happened. The fine stays at 1,000, and it's not it's not up to 1,000. It's 1,000 for the first, 2,000 for the second. There's no range. 5,000 for the third and subsequent. So those are the fines that we have to work with. So the $1,000 fine, I recommend that you find them responsible and that they have to pay the $1,000 fine. We usually give 3 town hall days, business days, to pay it. And because they've already had, all this time, because usually you have to pay it within 21, and now they've had the appeal. So we give 3 business, town hall business days, and we call it town hall business days because some town halls are closed on Friday and have shorter hours or longer hours on certain days. So, and then I also recommend, if you decide to reduce the fine from 3 to 1, that it sets moving forward, the policy that from now on for the first offense, until we merge the local reg with your state reg, and then you can have a more defined, if you want the 3 or the 2, but I don't recommend doing 3 for this one, 1 for that one, 2 for this one. You run into a lot of problems there. So
Very good. Thank you for your input then. I thank you, Sherry, for coming forward. Thank you for explaining some of what you're doing. Thank you for your diligence in trying to do the right thing and do a good job. I kind of agree with Kevin's comments. It's fortunately a very small percentage of your business. I think I'm more concerned that whether you've been aware of the exact current regulations or not, clearly there are some staff there that are having some problems, since this has been happening multiple times over a short period of time. So that's my piece. Thank you for encouraging us and understanding that you're going to do a good job moving forward. So to the board, do we have a motion? Dan?
I'll make a motion that we uphold the first offense $1,000 fine against Great Road Liquors for sale of tobacco products to a minor under the state regulations, as well as a 3-day suspension of their tobacco sales permit. Starting, do we have 7/15 as the start date? Apologize.
So 7/15 was the in the letter that was issued to Gary's Archer's Mart. These ones did not get a letter. So if that's too short notice, I'd recommend the following weekend, the 22nd to the 24th.
You 2 to 24.
So,
Yeah, because Gary was
Full
notified
motion.
for a while when his suspension would be. It was not, the dates were not in their letter.
oh, that's okay. So, make a motion that we uphold the findings of facts in the hearing, uphold the $1,000 first offense fine per the Mass state laws and regulations, and issue a 3-day suspension of tobacco sales to be 3 consecutive days, starting on 7/22 and completing by 7/29. That's 1 week. That's 3 days within that.
Oh, theirs is a 7-day, so it would be Friday.
3 days, 3 days, but
Oh, theirs is a 3-day.
starting on the 22nd.
Yep.
But then how long do they, it has to start on the 23rd? It has to be 3 consecutive days.
3 consecutive days. So they remove the products for starting the 22nd through the 24th, and they can put them back on the shelves the 25th.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Well, can we take that out? Little
You
tack
could
on
maybe
as my
panic for a
motion.
7-day there.
No. Sorry. I just wasn't sure. 'Cause sometimes in past and other places, there's been a little bit of flexibility on 3 consecutive days, but they can work the days within a time window. So no, I'm perfectly fine. So yes, $1,000,
Yeah.
3-day suspension, 22nd through 24th
It
of
just
July.
died.
Products
It just
returned
died.
25th.
Okay. Okay. And we'll adjust the letter saying that they were found responsible and notify them and send it to your office.
Thank you.
And now that we have your email, Matt, do you want us to send it to you to make sure that a board member gets it with the secretary and Jim?
Yes, please. I second the motion. Roll call vote. Kevin Davis,
Kevin Davis says yes.
Dan Kane,
Dan Kane says yes.
Matt Wason says yes. Thank you for your time, Sherry, if you can still hear us. Next is our 7:20 p.m. public hearing for tobacco sales violation at Archer's Mobile. If you are representing Archer's Mobile, please raise your hand.
Hmm.
Joan, do you have any contact information or a person
I
you think
do.
would-
I have spoken to Gary at Great Links, and he did tell me he intended to come here. He, again, he got the warning for 2 previous sales. He said he didn't receive the warning. He has received all the education. When we spoke, he said that, he's doing significant retraining with all of his employees, and whatnot, and that he was coming because, $1,000 fine and a three-day suspension is a lot. And we have a good relationship with all the retailers in Littleton, and going back in Gary's record all the way to like 2011, there is not anything. There was one incident was it 2008? There was only one incident that he had a violation. So he's passed every federal, every state, all of our inspections until recently. So we had some conversations about that, but I don't want to speak for him. So what typically happens is if somebody doesn't come to the hearing, we discuss what happened, the board makes a motion, and then they move forward with the decision, and we notify the person. But I do know that Gary did tell me that he was going to have his son help him log in. So there may be some technology issues where he wasn't able to log in. I can run upstairs. I think I have Gary's number where I can actually text him and see if he was trying to log in. I don't have my phone, but he might be texting me, hey, I can't get on. So I'm going to run and go upstairs and just grab my phone very quickly.
Okay. Sherry Gould is raising her hand. I'm going to ask what she's looking for here. Sherry, you're back, but muted.
Okay. I don't have anything from him, and I just put in a voice message for him.
Hi, Mr. Wason.
Did you have something further, Sherry?
I just wanted to apologize. My phone died. I'm having technical difficulties. I didn't cut out of rudeness. I apologize.
Sorry about that. I saw your video disappear, so I assumed as such.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
Good
you.
Yeah, good night.
Good evening. Well, Joan, then why don't you, I guess our option is we could try to see if they want to come for another date of appeal, but you've already sent them a letter stating that their suspension starts this Friday.
Right, but anybody who asks for an appeal, it gets paused until they've been heard. So,
Okay.
I mean, I feel like he intended to come. Like, we have had retailers that have said, I asked for an appeal, but I'm not going to come, but I just want mercy. And so then I come and just say, they didn't come, but they wanted it. We, once in a while, we have somebody who doesn't come, but they ask for consideration by letter. So
Okay.
this isn't the case. I think he did intend on coming. And he was very, he gave me a whole list of things he was doing to put into place, and education and working with his merchants. He knows the sale happened. He was, distraught to hear about it. He wanted the board to know. He planned to come to let the board know that if he knew about those other two violations, that he would have done something about it sooner. And, would have been, he didn't think, he strolled all along being a really good retailer. He wasn't aware he had a problem. I will say this has come up a couple of times, that we do sign receipt now. So we can tell the owner, because some owners aren't in the building. Sometimes they're on vacation. Sometimes they own multiple stores, and the clerk sees it and gets it and hides it, or the clerk opens it and puts it away, and it doesn't get to the manager. But right now we have the funding to do signed certified on the $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 fines. So, lots of times when people tell us they don't receive it, we can go to the return card and it tells us who signed for it. And so lately the post office, only on half of them are sending us back cards. So we have to go online and go to put the number in, and then online it tells us the date of the delivered. And sometimes it will say the name, and sometimes it will say left with attendant. It won't say a name. But we when it's a warning, we don't send it certified. We're only sending certified with the, because of the cost. I have 42 towns and 500 retailers. So because of the cost, we're only doing certified. On the 1,000, we're not doing certified on the warning. So
as you mentioned, that there are no more warnings anyways,
right.
unfortunately, with our new rules, and that's how it is. And granted, I assume a store owner, if they found out about a warning, they would potentially take steps to prevent further issues. But in this case, I think you've done your best.
I just wanted to let you know, we don't decide to give somebody a warning. The only reason why they were given a warning is because I went out on an emergency leave and was out for quite a while, and per diem staff were just trying to put it all together, and they were emailing boards the violations to make sure they had permission to send them out, because some boards give us permission to just send them out and some want to see them before we send them out. So they weren't sure. So too much time went by and they didn't get a response from the board, so they sent them out to them as a warning. But we really didn't, it was something that happened during short staffness. We don't have the authority to not do 1,000, 2,000, 5,000. So that's kind of like a big break. They got a break. That was a break.
All right, why don't you go ahead and give us the story on Archer Mobile real quick, and we'll.
Okay, so Archer Mobile, it was a sale to a minor on May 29th. And, there was no errors in the protocol, nothing there. Previous violation was 10/28, and then they sold in the re-inspection for 12/14. And he has since had 2 re-inspections, and he did not sell in either of the re-inspections from the February time, he did not sell in February. The other gentleman did. So, and then he's already been re-inspected from this June 13th, 16th violation, and he passed that one on 7/3. So it's his first violation. There's nothing unusual. The protocol was followed. He got, the same letter. You have it right in front of you. He sold Game Green Red Sweets. It was a female young adult clerk that sold, and it was a 16-year-old female. That was the youth inspector.
Very well. Any questions from the board? And never mind.
To say, I'm sure Joan has the paperwork, but Arches Mobile has in fact received the same educational packet and has signed off that they had received it, all that good stuff.
Yeah, Archer's Mobile, Kathleen Reynolds, on 11/4/21 signed for that packet. And, these packets, this is like, by this time, it's the fourth time we've gotten it out, so it just, between
Just
state,
checking all the boxes.
yeah.
Checking all the boxes that they in fact were not that
Yeah.
ignorance of the law is an excuse, but just making sure that the educational process went as planned, and mistakes can still happen after that, but just making sure that they were given every opportunity to be
Right.
aware of the
And
changes. So
we've had conversations with both, like they really need to, because from now it's 36 months from this May 29th for Gary, and from the February one, it's 36 months tolling period. So in the next 3 years, they have to be so careful because it's 2,000, 5,000, and it's up like that. And now every agency can see everything. Before, no agency knew what a local board of health was doing, but now with the new iPads and the new tracking system, we open it up, put the data in, and federal, state, DOR, everybody has access to the information. So
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'll make
Yeah.
a motion that we accept the findings of fact from the Tobacco Compliance Alliance for a sale to a minor on 5/29/22 at Archer's Mobile, 500 King Street. Uphold the $1,000 fine per Mass State law and regulation, and issue a 3-day suspension beginning on 7/22/22, proceeding through 7/24/22. Double check my dates and numbers.
24. Okay, his was scheduled to be this Friday. And I'm fine to move it so then we can do them both in this, like the inspection in the weekend, because our inspector will go in on Friday, make sure everything's removed, and then Secret Shopper will go in throughout the weekend. It'll be easier for us to just do them both at the same. Okay.
Okay.
And that way
the-
also keeps it, they're both the hearings were tonight, so give them the same length of time to put it in place. And
Right. And then my question for the board is, if Gary had technology issues to get on and still would like to speak to the board, would we pause this and put him on your next agenda? I mean, I will be in touch with him by tomorrow anyway, just to find out what
anyone?
Well, it's not a
Certainly
motion.
our challenge is that once we've issued an order, we can obviously always revisit an order that we've put in place. Our next, my question, I guess, is our next Board of Health meeting is not for 2 more weeks. It is not until 27.
Okay.
So that if we take an action tonight and he requests basically a second hearing, I'm not sure how we can
Well, typically,
pause, rescind, suspend an order that we've now placed as a board by a vote without
Right.
coming back and voting it on hold. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
okay, I just
I'm
want,
not sure if that's something we can do.
Well, I just want to be sure because now that a lot of boards are doing things remote, there has been times where there was a little bit of leeway if somebody really couldn't get on and they were trying and they were messaging or whatever. But one of the reasons why I asked is this happened at a board close by that they met at 7:30 in the morning, and the store misread it 7 p.m. to 7:30 at night. So I called and said, well, "You didn't show up," and he goes, I'm coming tonight. And I'm like, no, it was at 7:30. And the board did not, it was clear in the letter that it was AM. There was no error in the letter. And they said, nope, sorry. So when they ask me, I can't speak for a board. So I wanted that information ahead of time. If he asks.
Dan, would you like to modify your motion to make the dates the 29th through 31st of July?
We could do that, but the penalty would still have to be payable within three town hall days. So he'd still have to pay the penalty unless we choose to change that. I think if we're going to that far of putting both the penalty payment, the fine payment, and the suspension until after our next Board of Health meeting, my gut is continue the hearing and give him an opportunity to speak and be present. If we're trying to be understanding and support, if we're trying to give him a safety net, if it simply was a technology issue or a misunderstanding not being here tonight, built into our order, I'd say we continue the hearing and give him basically a safety net second opportunity to come before the board and take action, because I'm just not sure how we could take an action tonight and then somehow suspend that action.
I mean, I have to be honest with you, he really did disclose to me that he is not up on any technology and would need help getting on. So I don't know. He said he was hoping to
very
sign.
well. There is a motion on the table. Is there a second? No second to that motion.
Okay,
Is
so
there any additional motions?
I make a motion that we continue this hearing until the following board meeting,
July 27th.
July 27th. Sorry, I was working on that right now. Thank you. Friendly amendment.
Very well. I second the
second that.
motion. Roll call vote. Kevin Davis.
Kevin Davis says yes.
Dan Kane.
Dan Kane, yes.
Matt Wason says yes. We'll continue this in 2 weeks.
okay, so if I speak to him and I'm fine, I accept it, I'm all done. I'm not coming to the next meeting. Then we'll just wrap that up at the next meeting.
Yes, let us know. Get that in writing to forward on to us. And if there was something with technical difficulty, please let us know. We can talk to Brenda and see if there's a way that we could have a phone dial in or some other way for him to make sure he can connect with us.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you for everything, Joan.
All right. Thank you.
See you
Thank
next
you,
time.
Joan. You're awesome. We appreciate all your work for us.
I try. Thank you.
Hey, Joan.
Yes.
On the next, if we have another one, and hopefully we won't, the education sheet would be really cool to have forwarded along with the other stuff in the violation as well. So that way we have.
So the signups.
Yes,
We usually scan them to every board, but I think to Littleton we had we were scanning them to an address that was no longer being used. I don't know if you had a new secretary at some point, or
we've had numerous issues, so that's why I was in the future. If you wouldn't mind just sending that educational along, that would be lovely.
Yeah, I'm going to, with these letters, I will send this to Matt, Jim, and the BOH office address we have now that we've been using. And I will, is it Donna?
Brenda.
Brenda. Okay, yours is Brenda. Okay. So I will send it to Brenda as well. And then moving forward, we'll make sure you have them. If you want the previous ones, we can resend those. But I'll at least get you this one for this fiscal year. And then the golf paid their fine, and their permit suspension starts this weekend. So they didn't contest it or anything. So we're just moving forward with the details in the letter. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Next on the agenda, our 7:30 PM item, public hearing continuance for 3 Pickard Lane. Who do we have? Joseph. David.
What is the, Vice Chairman, I'm sorry, it was, the 7:30 is, I thought, the ID support, decision support tool?
The agenda posted publicly that is only attainable on the website had this item actually at 7:30. It's the only difference between the draft.
Very well, sir. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
How are we?
Sorry we're behind for you.
That's all right. So
This motion was brought to us back on, I think it was June 22nd. And the primary concern was it was discussing a pre-existing and then a potential future wall, but we didn't really have any details on that wall construction.
So the engineer, Brian Farmer, who appeared at that hearing, was asked to send some updated plans, which he did email. The board should have those showing the barrier and the wall.
We do. Would you like to share so that you can drive it, or do you need me to?
I would need you to.
Very well.
And I'm hoping the board remembers, Brian was the engineer. I'm just a lawyer. So, Brian, I can show you where we're going, but if you may recall, the issue was that the prior owner had the septic system installed. When it was installed, they didn't actually follow the plan. So there's a little bit of the tank was essentially a little cockeyed on the property. So what we're looking to do is have the liner installed and be able to build up the walls so that the homeowner can have a flat and level backyard over the system.
So I have 4 documents. This is just showing the
That's
wall
just the
construction
block.
itself, which we had last time, and I think that was
Yeah.
our concern. We have this drawing.
Correct. So if you look, at the top of the plan where the existing D-box is, you'll see that what he wants to do there is put a stone barrier, the 32-foot stone barrier.
Okay.
Okay. And then there's going to be I think it's the impervious liner behind that. And then the goal is going to be to extend this wall around the system so that the yard can just be leveled off at the back of the house.
So is this the as-built or previous, or what the plan is?
I believe this is what the plan is. So in the as-built plan, which I believe you have as well, there are some rocks depicted. So what the prior owner did was they just finished off the grade and threw some rocks along the line. And what we're looking to do is actually build that interlocking stone wall, clean it up, and level it off. And I apologize, I'm asking you to go through the plans here.
Okay, so this is to show that 32-foot wall that you want to build now, with
Correct.
the liner is described right here, coming inside.
Correct.
And then this drawing was showing what the wall would actually look like.
Yeah.
And then what is the pertinence of this drawing?
So then you'll see the wall. The wall's going to come all the way around. So this shows you that wall is coming around the system. You'll see the face of the wall, 23 feet in length on the opposite side.
See, I'm only seeing one wall. I'm only seeing a section of the wall that's right there that Matt is kind of highlighting. I don't see the wall continuing along the entire property and creating that flat space that you're talking about.
And this is a 23-foot wall that's here versus a 32-foot wall.
Right, no, I'm looking at that.
But this is depicting the same thing, just rotated, correct?
Is that same angle? And
I mean, is this rectangle right here? Is that the same as this
No,
rectangle right here?
I think it's
No.
the opposite side of the yard.
it's the opposite. It's the opposite end of the field, Matt. So what
Okay,
what they're doing. So
I see.
yeah. So the so
If you
yeah.
can, maybe if
Yeah,
you can blow
it's
up
this,
this
so-
bottom diagram, there we go.
One
Yeah.
showing, and this is the page we're looking at here is the lower section. Got it.
Yep.
And the upper
So
Okay.
so I'm sorry, sir. I didn't catch your name, the attorney.
Joe,
Hey, Joe. So the problem I'm having is your description said that the homeowner is going to have the entire backyard flattened out, and you said there's going to be a wall surrounding it. According to these prints, there's only going to be a wall on the one side with a barrier, and then a wall on the other side with a barrier. So
right, to bring up the grade, and then it can fade off on the back.
oh, okay. So you're only concerned about the closeness of the barrier and the wall to the property lines where those things meet, and then you're letting the back kind of fade away and not have a wall.
Right, because I don't think there's an issue with the setbacks. So the issue is because of the cockeye, and again, not a technical term, but because they cockeyed the system, it interfered with the setbacks.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so those two walls are to bring it back so that we can meet the setbacks and build it up.
Got it. I think that was the confusion. I agree. We kept hearing a wall that was wrapping around, but it's just two independent walls, one at either end, basically.
Yeah, I apologize. You know,
Yeah.
the issue here, gentlemen, was my client, Mr. Ashen, who's here, first-time home buyer, bought this house. This doesn't have anything to do with the board, but bought this house with the understanding there was going to be a below-ground system. After the purchase of the house, you know, it was very visible that it was not a below-grade house because we had the raised system. And so what we've been trying to do for the last year and a half is figure out the sort of the path of least resistance to get them a level backyard. And this was what was proposed by the engineer.
Yep.
So we'd ask the board to approve this, as drawn.
So it looks like they're also removing the existing rocks and they're putting in that interlocking wall. Is that the intent?
Correct.
Okay.
And let me stop. David, is it not necessarily removing those rocks from the property, correct?
Yeah, so where those rocks are, that was, I think, the original attempt at a retaining wall, but obviously, given that it failed compliance, it's not a sufficient wall. So when we got a quote for the installation of a potential retaining wall, part of that plan was to remove those rocks and replace it essentially with a more sufficient wall. This would ideally, what we're going for is killing two birds with one stone here, both giving us what we desire, which is the flat yard and looks a little nicer than what we were expecting to purchase, but then also solving the compliance issue in one fell swoop, if that makes sense, because the wall would be solving the compliance part, since there's to avoid the runoff into the neighbor's property, and then also giving us what we wanted originally. So that was kind of the idea behind the location of the wall.
Yeah, no, I understand the location of the wall, sir, and I also understand. I was just making sure that the unsightly rocks that you have so eloquently talked about there, that they're going to be removed as well, so that way you get your flat yard and you don't you're not rock raking for the next 10 years. So
Yeah, well, hopefully.
So it looks like the variance approval was, we never voted on it. You were looking for a variance in the reduction of groundwater from 5 foot to 3 foot, as well as the wall. Are those the only variances that we need to address?
I believe so.
I'm sorry, so the original system was built out of compliance beyond simply the flat yard. We're looking for a groundwater offset variance for an as-built, which means it was not in compliance or did not have a variance for installation when it went in.
Oh, sorry, Dan. Apologize. I'm trying to read what we had from the last meeting. It looks like that was referencing the original plans, which approved a variance for the reduction in groundwater separation, but had no requirements for any other variances. Because the system was built off angle, that is now requiring the variance for the wall. So it is just the variance for the wall and to allow grading within 10 feet of a property line. And that is all.
I don't have any further questions.
I'll show this real quick. So this is the description of the wall plan that we just asked for the further details. So grading would occur within 5.2 feet and 6.4 feet of the property line. Removal of the stones and no requirement of retaining walls. Any additional questions?
I have none.
Very well. Do we have a motion?
I don't see anybody in the audience, but do we have any abutters?
There are no attendees. And there were none last time we met either.
I'll make a motion that we grant the variance for the use of a VersaBlock wall as described in the plans and the non-permeable membrane as described in the plans as requested.
Second,
A motion with a second. Roll call vote. Kevin Davis.
Kevin Davis says yes.
Dan Kane.
Dan Kane says yes.
Matt Wason votes yes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Good luck with wrapping it up.
Thank you,
Thank
guys. Take care.
Thank you. Good luck.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
All right. Next on the agenda, public hearing, the ID decision support tool. Here's the latest data. The changes would be that the predominant Asian in Massachusetts is now the BA5 variant instead of the BA2.12.1. BA2 has pretty much disappeared. So 5 is predominant in Massachusetts. It's actually more predominant in the rest of the country right now. As for our numbers, most everything has stayed the same from last time. We do see the 2-week case counts for Littleton have been continuing to slide downhill. The CDC community level did go from low back up to medium. It's, I think, due to the admissions that they're still seeing patients. We no longer have public school prevalence data because there are no kids in school. And the wastewater levels continue to hover in the 400 to the 800 number, depending on the two sites.
I would like to note that the community transmission level is red or high, whatever color that is. I'm sorry, I'm red-green color deficient, so I can't tell if that's a red or an orange. But I would like to say that the community transmission is still high.
Any additional comments? As a part of updating, pardon?
Sorry. As part of that, have we made any forward progress on meeting with the select board or the school committee on what we're going to be doing this fall? Because the clock is ticking.
We are meeting with the select board on July 25th. We are on their agenda, but I believe that is for the memorandum of understanding for the health agent, not yet the COVID response. So we asked to get on their agenda for 2 different meetings, and we have gotten one of those 2 thus far. I do not have an update. I've not heard that we have anything on the school board yet, but it has been requested, I believe.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm hoping to meet with IT later this week or next week to get this posted on our webpage, and also been working with Kevin Davis. We'll continue to chip away to try to see how we can make it a little more automated and updated more frequently.
Yeah, the data automation tool that I have broke last Thursday due to the board of the State Department of Health changing the way it is publishing the data. And due to some work pressure, I have not updated that tool yet, but I should have it updated hopefully for, if not this week or next week's data push on Thursday, now that they're doing it only once a week, not that that affected us ever before.
No, but it's definitely an important caveat that we are relying on multiple different sources for this information, and we're trying to use this tool to help communicate. But the understanding is when things somewhere else break, we don't have a lot of control over that, and we have to hop on top of it to fix something on our side too.
Yep, well understood.
And then the other piece, because we will be going to the select board, I have on my list, I continue to work on kind of the flow diagram of how we use the tool, how we make our decisions, what steps we see as we move forward. Like the tool, I'm trying to make it not a COVID tool, but more a tool that we use for multiple scenarios, but that's adding some complexity. But I'll get that off to you soon for individual feedback so that we can kind of bring it back as a single before the select board meeting.
And that makes good sense as far as future health issues that may be coming up that we need to issue an order for.
Exactly.
Just as we issued orders this evening.
All right, next, our 7:55 p.m. public hearing on the potential regulation requiring treatment for SDS within 100 feet of wetlands. Continuing this public hearing. I think we've spent time on this going back and forth on how do we be more explicit in our requirements, and it seems like all of our expert input to that have been effectively, we can't be more prescriptive. We just have to go with some language and understand as a board. We lean on it as much as we can, but what a system must look like will not be defined. We can continue to push this out, push the cart down the road, as it were, or we can say this is as good as we can get it right now and vote on it to put it into place.
I'd like to have one more chance to read through what's there, because after looking through it a little bit more, I'd like to understand, what exactly, and have a final cleaned up version that we can take a vote on. If there is anything that we're going to take a vote on.
As I say, certainly Kevin Baker had kind of taken a bit of a point on this and not having him here tonight. I'd love to have his input as well. Have as many members of the board present as we could for this one, since it is going to be slightly less precise than we might like.
That sounds reasonable. Kevin, would you mind pinging Kevin for the latest version?
I will send him an email right now.
All right. Do we by chance have a motion to continue this public hearing?
So
I'll make
moved.
a motion that we continue. Second.
Very well. Roll call vote. Kevin Davis,
Kevin Davis says yes.
Dan Kane,
Dan Kane, yes.
Matt Wason votes yes.
Sorry, Dan.
He who makes the minutes.
Yeah, working that too.
Next, our 8:10 p.m. discussion on health department long-term goals. So I spoke with Kevin Baker about this, and he and I have kind of both independently had the idea that we should try to start putting together things that we want to work on over the near and far future. Obviously, we have a health department to build over the next year, but since that won't take all our time, what other things are out there that we want to potentially tackle or look at or drive to a town meeting for further input, all of those kind of things. So this, I think, should probably happen on a more individual basis with Kevin Baker as the clearinghouse for things we might have as ideas. But I also think it's reasonable to bring something up here if there's something you've thought about or are not sure about the history, so we can kind of hand off the work of maybe investigating what used to be, or if it's something brand new, if other towns do it and that kind of thing. One idea I had that I haven't researched yet was a while back, we got a complaint about a type of business establishment that I would say is the like personal health category, in those places that are like spas and massage areas. And the feedback that we got at the time was that that they're not covered by us. We don't inspect them. That's what Jim Gareffi had said. And a piece of me wondered, well, why not? Should we? Is that something that we should be looking at? So as I said, I haven't done any research. I believe those places still have a license to operate handled at the state level, but I don't know if there are inspections and if that's something that we should actually be considering for our community. Obviously, there are places where employees are using items directly on customers and clients and our community members. And so should we have some sort of oversight there?
Are you thinking or looking at like licensed massage therapists, which is licensed through board of registration through the state, or kind of the more generic, looser body work kind of places, which you are not necessarily licensed massage therapists, but doing similar but unlicensed or differently certified or recognized work?
Exactly, and I'm not sure. And I think I would probably just off the top of my head cast the net to include those people with an individual license and without. But I also think the business itself already has a license as well. And that's what I want to go research. But whether the state is giving the business a license and the employees have an individual license, if nobody's ever inspecting the establishment, is that the gap that we need to be looking at? Right? Like we don't, well, I guess we don't do like hair salons either, right? So,
Say a quick glance at the rules. It looks like massage therapy is completely under Division of Professional Licensure, and agency licensure is kind of like hairdressers or barbers, where they're both the shop and the profession is licensed by the board of registration. It looks like massage therapists, at least on first quick glance, is kind of treated that same way. You're licensed professional and you're regulated by your regulatory body. I think the question would be for those folks who are not working under a state massage therapist license and doing other body work is usually the language that doesn't fall under the board of registration requirements that we may need to be able to, or may want to look at. How do we review, license, inspect those pieces? But yeah, I think a little bit of a deep dive into regulations and where the Venn diagram overlaps between Board of Health, DPH, professional licensure, and what exactly providers and services are being utilized in the facilities.
Yeah.
Kind of where we fall in that. So
That's where I felt it might have been something that fell through a gap. Maybe the gap's not there. Maybe it was just misguided, but I would rather do the dive and know for sure. And if there's a gap to fill, then that's something that we would, in my mind, put on a goal list of let's get that wrapped up at some point. So that was just my example. So I think it's the encouragement over the next weeks and months to churn up what ideas and thoughts you might have to help put together a list that we could work on.
I mean, certainly something I've been working on is trying to, and I think coming on with our own internal health department will hopefully kind of bring us back into a more timely inspection and reassessment of food service establishments and those kind of things. It's certainly some of the past we've looked at. We are not quite meeting that normal 6-month review for some of our inspections. So hopefully with the health department coming on board, that will be something that can be addressed, but certainly it's a bit of low hanging fruit. It's labor intensive, but that's really public health is about prevention as much as possible. And prevention comes from inspection and education. So, certainly is that something we can look at, focus on, and be aware of what inspections are going on, which ones are past due, and how can we help facilitate making sure that our inspections are as close to timely as possible. Or we find out that they are in fact now all timely and we're doing great. And that's how can we help support keep that going?
I think I'm in the same line as I feel like there's a gap of knowledge there. And if I don't know that, how can I be doing the right job for my community? Maybe the work's being done perfectly, but we as a board, I feel should be much clearer with that. And with the Tobacco Alliance as well, same kind of thing. They're doing great work, but if we don't even know they exist, then there's a gap.
I did hear back from, obviously Joan didn't mention it when she was on earlier. I did hear back from her yesterday, apologizing that she hadn't gotten back to me sooner after our last meeting, but she was absolutely happy. She kind of did the whole, we've been doing this for a long time. Usually it's, things are going well. We usually send out an annual letter going either we've done an education letter, those events, or just an annual checkup going, hey, we did 2 surveys this year in your town. We checked, these agencies and everybody was in compliance. Everybody's gotten their education visits, all is well letters. That is part of their standard practice if requested. So she said she was happy to add us onto their, please just send us an annual summary. We came, we visited, we saw, things are great. Or if you hear from us, obviously things aren't great, and you did, which you'll hear also in your end of year letter, but you've already heard about it before then. So she's happy to add us to her annual summary letter list. So, which is one of the things we were looking for. So that's awesome.
Good, cool.
Yay.
All right, so
Certainly
keep coming
kind of
up with other future ideas.
All right.
At 8:25 item, administrative matters. Minutes.
Yeah, I know. Working it.
I believe we do not have any minutes to approve this evening.
No, we do not. I'm trying to get some out to us for our next meeting, I promise. I know I said that last meeting.
I forgot again, the administrative handbook. I'm not sure what that item was referring to. And then lastly, the trash hauler regulations. So Kevin Baker and I welcomed Brenda to our support system last week. And we talked about kind of what demands we might have over the coming months, but started with one kind of pertinent project here, which is the trash hauler regulation. So as this states, we need to publish a summary of the regulation in the newspaper. So we will work with Brenda on producing that. And I know she was also working on getting the list of all of the potential residential and commercial haulers already working within the town of Littleton in order to get this communication out to them based upon the timeline that we approved at our last meeting.
Speaking of newspaper, the town only has a digital one now, if.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I think our official paper of record is it's still the Lowell Sun at this point.
I thought it was the Littleton Independent.
But with them being no longer
Yeah, I don't know what it changed.
published, I think our last posting, which was the mask order, that was a regulation, our last newly implemented regulation, I believe the Lowell Sun was the paper of record that we utilized as the
Fair enough.
regularly published printed paper. But we can certainly check with town administrator's office and town clerk's office. Is probably the town clerk is probably the best source of information for that one. Is Brenda started? Is she with us now
Yes,
with land use? Okay,
Yay.
can't wait to meet her.
she is here. She just had a previously scheduled vacation for this time and so is not here this evening.
Is she going to be back next week, or when does her vacation end? I was going to go in and introduce myself.
I don't know exactly then.
Okay.
I was informed of that, but do not recall clearly.
Sure. No worries.
She is still currently sitting in our old space upstairs, but they are remodeling the lower level of Reuben Hoare past in order to have their space there. But that moves, I think, several months away still.
Roger that.
The correspondence folder has a meeting summary from the MRC Region 4A MRC community meeting, which I have not reviewed.
There have I.
I think we'll have to shelf that for somebody with more information about it. So last, yes,
It looks like Alex McCurdy went to it.
yeah. Lastly, any board member comments and updates? Kevin Davis?
Circle back to me. I'm looking at something at the moment.
Dan Kane?
All right, I have two quick things. One, starting Saturday, we have a new national 3-digit number, 988. Will be an automatic nationwide link to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. The 800 number will still be working, but starting Saturday, 988 will put you in touch with crisis intervention helpers. So certainly an important piece for everybody to have a readily accessible and easy to remember access in time of crisis. Other thing is probably back kind of a bit to the kind of board goals, health department goals, is with our recent drought. We have certainly had I talked to Jim about a year ago that for those folks who live near the quarry, so the folks on the high end of Air Road, Speck Pond, Spartan Arrow, Whitetail, that whole section, they basically transfer station adjacent area. Dust from the quarry is a significant issue, particularly dry season, and that it is certainly noticeable. And I'd asked about dust mitigation requirements both for employees and to minimize silica exposure to the residential neighborhoods in the area. And he was going to look into it, and we haven't circled back to it. But again, it's a little bit more of a focused, kind of portion of the community potential issue. But certainly silica dust is a significant pathogen with tuberculosis and silicosis and a number of other risks associated with inhalation of silica dust. Most of the research shows that, big particles go about 100 to 200 meters, mediums up to 500, and the smaller particles can go, half a mile to a mile at times, depending on wind and conditions. So it's not a huge part of town, but it certainly is a concern that it might be something we may want to look at as a public health piece, kind of the same way we look at PFAS, a bigger impact because it's more community wide with our water sources, but certainly is something that we can explore as a potential health hazard here in town that is a little bit, well, not unique to Littleton. It's more unique to Littleton than many other places that we have a very large quarry in this quarter of town. So,
Do you know if measurements have ever been done or any look at it?
when I talked to Jim, he didn't know of any history of it being done or any dust mitigation strategies being utilized there. But it also sounded like it would never come up. He never looked at it. Certainly, I would say they're probably regulated under OSHA and some other pieces rather than by us. But as soon as potentially health impactful items leave their site,
Right.
it basically kind of falls onto Board of Health as basically noisome trades. The trades that provide potential, health or life risks. Same way that if you have noxious odors coming from a facility, that falls under Board of Health inspection, regulation, and action if required. So he didn't really have an answer and was going to look into it. And I was hoping to be here tonight so we could review it again. But through the winter, it wasn't too bad because we had snow cover. Now that we're dry again, I'll be honest, I live in that circle. And that, yes, when I go out to my car and it looks like someone has put baby powder all over my car, looking at it, recognizing that it's stone dust and not baby powder, and recognizing that every person who walks in my neighborhood or my son going out doing a couple mile run is going, that's all going into his lungs, along with all of my neighbors in town, is certainly one of those pieces that brings it back to the forefront of it's a potential risk. Having grown up in Woburn back in the time of Grace Chemical and cancer clusters, those kind of things, while not obviously comparing it anywhere near that level, but those pieces that aren't necessarily always recognized until it's too late, I'd rather take a look at it early and see if there's anything that can or should be done earlier rather than later.
Good idea. Kevin Davis.
Found my notes. So Dan covered the 988 number, so yay on that. Level 2 water restrictions. With that, I was wondering if we could get the water department to come in and chit chat about the new water treatment plant that's coming online maybe in the future, about some of the issues from a public health perspective. Is certainly reducing the sodium and some of the other issues that maybe with PFAS and where they are with the plant and things like that. So maybe there's some way that we can get LELWD to come in and just give us a quick update.
I think the state or EPA has actually focused and changed their thresholds
Yes.
slightly recently. They've actually decreased them pretty significantly from what they were previously and focused them a little bit more from kind of general PFAS down to a few more specific items and breakdowns as the technology has gotten better both for detection and discrimination. So,
Right. And that's the update that I was wondering if we could get from them to see where we are with those kinds of things, or if it was still just a general chemical that they're going after. And then the other thing, of course, is the sodium side of things. That was one of the, I may be incorrect, and the last time I read one of the water treatment reports or one of the water quality reports that came out, but I seem to recall one of the last water quality reports, there may have been an elevated sodium level, but maybe I'm remembering that wrong.
All right. Lastly, I mentioned earlier about getting the ID tool posted on the web. Kevin Baker and I were talking to Ed Mullen about the web and about our future health department. And I'm going to also work with IT on kind of redesigning how you get to information about the Board of Health on the Littleton website. So right now we are under boards because we're a board, but they also have a department section. So we're going to go ahead now and start to build a health department webpage that would initial conversation. So it'll either be just one page where both of those links go to the same page, since we don't have that much content right now, or the Board of Health still has something and the new health department would have something very similar, and start working on the cross connections, because Ed's also very interested in making sure that the building department, you know, if you're a building person, you want to get to the health department, how do you find that most easily and get to the resources you need? So I'm going to take point on that redesign, and hopefully next time at least have an update saying when we might kind of look at some mock-ups to talk about. But at the same time, since both of you have, you know, been in town for a while, right? If there's something that you feel has been missing or is not easy about our existing page, now's the time. Please start just sending me any idea or complaint you might have, so I can try to get all the work wrapped up into kind of one project.
Roger that.
And that's all I got. We have no attendees, so no public input. Therefore, our agenda is complete.
Would you entertain a motion to adjourn?
Absolutely.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second. Kevin Davis.
Davis votes yes.
Thinking.
Dan Kane says yes.
Matt Wason says yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dave.